everyone, it's Holly and I'm here with my fourth quarter wrap up. So talking about some stats for the books that I read in the fourth quarter of 2020, that is October, November, and December, as well as my favorite books from each of those months. So I have my 2020 book journal here. It has officially been like retired, but it's making a return for this video. So I have my fourth quarter spread over here, so let's talk about it. So the big numbers are, in the last 3 months of 2020, I read 50 books, which I think was my lowest. Yes, it was my lowest quarter, but it followed my biggest quarter. And then for pages read, I read 17,390, and books bought, I bought 38. So was that the most I bought? No, second quarter was the most books I bought by a lot, but that was the second highest. For the books that I read, 46 were new to me and 4 were rereads. That's kind of weird. I feel like I usually read a lot more rereads. Oh no, back in the first quarter it was only 4 too. For the authors, 48 of them were female and 2 were male. There were none that were anything else. For the publication year, so 27 were backlist, 14 were ARCs, or 14 were 2020 releases, and 9 were ARCs, which are also 2020 releases, but I classify them separately. That's pretty good. I'm glad I was reading new releases as they were coming out. And then when it comes to ratings, I had no DNFs. I actually had no DNFs all of 2020. Right? Yes. 0 1 stars, 5 2 stars, 16 3 stars, 23 4 stars, and 6 5-star reads. So I've always said genre, but really this is like age category. I'm changing this up for next year to try and make it clearer for myself. 35 were adult, 15 were YA, and 0 were anything else. So I didn't read any other age categories. When it comes to sources, 17 had been purchased by me, 6 were from the library, 9 were from NetGalley, 13 were from Audible, 4 were from Scribd, and 1 was from something else. I think, yeah, that would have been like an e-arc for Serena Bowen, because I'm on her arc team, so that's where that would have come from. Audible Escape also was like stopped in this quarter, so that's sad. There's now Audible Plus, which is similar to Escape, but it's all genres, not just romance, but the romance is definitely not great in selections. So that stinks. I do feel bad for authors. I had talked about this. Of course, I made Audible Escape content, and then Audible Escape was canceled, because of course it was. And I think I said in one of those videos about, is Audible Escape worth it? I had commented that I wasn't sure it was worth it for authors, because Serena Bowen, I know, had been pretty clear that it wasn't a good revenue generator for her. Since Audible Escape has ended, Jennifer Armentrout has also said that it wasn't great for her, and I think a lot of authors have said that they have had issues with Audible Escape being worthwhile. So I will miss Audible Escape, and I am mad about the situation. I hope that authors are treated better. I personally don't think they will be, but you know, Audible is going to do what it's going to do until changes happen. But anyways, so my Audible readership will probably go down. I'm gonna keep my subscription for now, and we'll see what happens. I do buy a lot of books when they go on sale. Like, I've bought a lot of Serena Bowen books, so we'll see. I'm gonna keep it for now. I may change. It's hard. I know there's other subscription services. I do have Scribd. I'm torn about Scribd because I do feel like they have a lot of piracy issues, and they act like they care about their piracy issues, but I feel like they don't really care. So that kind of rubs me the wrong way. I've heard about Libro FM. I may look into it. We'll see. Anyways, that's not what this video is about. But it was sad to see Audible Escape go. Fortunately, the Audible romance group on Facebook still exists. which is awesome. That was something I definitely didn't want to lose. It's one of my favorite things about Audible Escape, was having that group full of amazing romance readers who are super non-judgmental and are willing to share advice and like recommendations and things like that. So now let's talk about my favorite books of quarter four. My October favorite was such a surprise, and this is why I liked Audible Escape, because it was a really low risk way for me to try books or authors I wasn't sure about, and one of them was Penelope Douglas. And I had read Birthday Girl earlier this year. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. It wasn't really for me. But I decided to give Punk 57 a chance, which was kind of like her other standalone that I feel like people recommend starting with for her. And oh my god, I freaking loved this book. 5 stars, 100%. I proceeded to buy the audio. I'm going to buy the physical copy. I loved this. I was in like the perfect headspace for it. It's super angsty. It's like a high school but older high school romance, and it's kind of a friends to lovers story. It was, when I'm looking for like a new adult book, this is what I'm looking for usually in a new adult, and like this feel and vibe and everything, oh my gosh, it was perfect for me in the moment that I read it, and oh my gosh, loved it. Will continue to read Penelope Douglas. I'm still not 100% sure she's going to be the author for me. She may be a little too like risky for me, but I definitely will continue reading her books now. In November, my favorite was Riffs and Refrains by Devenny Perry. This is the second book in the Hush Note series. So it's a series of 3 books by 3 different authors, but they each follow one member of a band named Hush Note. So the first book is Lies and Lullabies by Serena Bowen, then this one by Devenny Perry, and then Muses and Melodies by Rebecca Yarros. And I had never read a Devenny Perry or a Rebecca Yarros book before. I've obviously read Serena Bowen. That's why I read this series. I got an arc for Lies and Lullabies. I did love it. But Riffs and Refrains, oh my god, this was exactly what I wanted. It's definitely on the angstier side. It's definitely an emotional read. It's not a cute fluffy romance, but oh, it hit me in the feels. And this series works really well together, even though they're by 3 different authors. I think they flow really well together. They do a great job. This one follows Quinn, who is the girl in the band. She's the only girl. There's 2 guys. And she's the drummer, and she comes across kind of like a bitch in the first book. Now that didn't put me off. I know some people were a little put off. I just assumed that there was something up there, and there was, and so it didn't bother me in the first book. And in the second book, she returns home. She hasn't been home in a long time. She left under kind of like difficult circumstances, and she meets up with her childhood like high school sweetheart, and it's their romance. So it's Second Chance, which is one of my favorites. Now he does have a kid, and I am not usually a huge fan of kids in books, but I don't know if I'm just getting like older and like my biological clock is starting to tick or something, but I'm starting to not be bothered by kids in books. I don't know if they're just being written well or if it's me, but this one was perfect. This, again, I was in the perfect headspace for a book like this. It definitely made me cry. I connected to these characters so strongly. It was amazing. And then number 3 was actually my last book of the year. I literally came home on Christmas Eve. I had like 7 hours in the audiobook left, and which is like 3.5 because I listen usually at 2 times speed. And I just like laid on my couch and listened to it because I was like, I need to finish this before the end of the year so it can count as a 2020 read, because I want this to be my favorite book of December. And December didn't have like any like standout hits, so like this was perfect. And that is Beard in Mind by Penny Reid. And oh my gosh, I loved Beard Science, which is Cletus and Jen's story, and I was like, nothing can ever beat Cletus and Jen. And then I read this, and apparently something can beat Cletus and Jen, because Bo and Shelley were amazing. I didn't feel any particular way about Bo in the earlier books. The series follows a bunch of brothers, the Winston brothers, who live in Tennessee. And Beau's kind of like the charming brother, and everybody likes him and everything. So like, I liked him as a character previously, but I wasn't particularly invested in him. I didn't care about his story, but oh my gosh, you grow to really care about him and love him. And then Shelley was perfection. So you meet Shelley earlier on. She ends up working with Beau at the mechanic shop he runs with his brothers, and they don't get along. And Shelley is kind of a prickly personality in the earlier books, and it might have only been one book. I think she's only in the previous book. But anyways, I got the vibe from that book that she was going to have OCD, and I was correct. She does have OCD. And this book really does explore that. She goes to therapy for it. You go with her to her therapy sessions, which I really liked. She's on medication, which again, I really liked. I don't think medication is the solution to all mental health issues, but I think it's an important tool in a toolbox. As somebody who is medicated for anxiety, I think it's really important to normalize that, and it was something I was very uncomfortable with doing, and then honestly, like, so thankful I did it. It was a game changer. Like, it completely changed my life being on. I take Lexapro, and it was a big deal thing. So I love seeing that. And for me personally, so I think I've talked about this before, I have OCD, so it's not particularly bad now, and it hasn't been for several years. However, I do find that especially when I'm very anxious, I tend to fall back into some of my like compulsions. Now my anxiety got really bad when I like made a real big push to end as many of my compulsions as I could. A lot of Shelley's compulsions are very similar to mine, and like her thought process is very similar to mine. Now she is so much worse than I was, definitely am now, but we do have similar compulsions, so it was really easy to connect with her. It was also a little unsettling to read. Sometimes when I read stories about characters who have OCD and who have compulsions very similar to mine, especially numbers-based compulsions, because that was my biggest issue, was an obsession with a number and doing things that number of times. I do kind of get like a fear that I'm going to like bring that back. So it's a little unsettling to read and like kind of feel it, because it's not like you want to do your compulsions, like you do but you don't. So it was a little unsettling, but it's been a few days and I feel good, so I think we're fine. But I really liked her story, and I also like, she's not like maybe this is a spoiler, but I don't think it is. She's not magically fixed by the end of the book, and I really liked that, because I think OCD, like a lot of mental health things, you don't really recover. You're just like always in recovery. I think of it a lot as addiction, where you are just always working on this and working on a path. And I love that like Love didn't fix her, Beau didn't fix her, but he's super supportive of her going to therapy and helping her cope, and I really liked that. So yes, it was an amazing book. It may be my favorite book of the year. I don't know, maybe I'm like just so close to it. So those are my stats and some of my favorite books from the fourth quarter of 2020. Next will be, I think, my overall 2020 stats and my 2021 goals for reading and bookish things. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!